Welcome back. You're watching the India Today Access My India All India Tracker. This is the political stock exchange trying to capture the country's political mood on the day the Election Commission announced the poll schedule for the 17th Lok Sabha. I will now take you through a community-wise breakup of the mood in the country. We'll start with the general castes, which are ordinarily the upper castes in the country. If you look at the Thakurs, the Brahmins, and how they are looking at general categories, the Prime Minister's popularity, and this is quite phenomenal. That's the biggest jump he's seeing across all subcategories. Has jumped from 57% in January 2019, which in any case was very high, to 72%. That's a 15% jump just in the last 2 months in general category voters. So amongst the upper caste, remember we saw some murmurs during the Madhya Pradesh assembly elections with some of the upper caste being unhappy with the government seen to be pandering to the interests of the scheduled caste communities when they rushed in and tried to change the SC/ST Act. All that seems to be in the past. Amongst the upper caste, Narendra Modi is at 72% popularity for people wanting him to be next Prime Minister. Rahul Gandhi is fallen from 26% to 15%. That's a 9% fall in Rahul Gandhi's popularity amongst the general castes, which are, just broadly speaking, the upper castes. After this, now let's come to the other backward caste, the OBCs, the vast numerical majority of voters in the country. Here as well, a 12% jump. Now remember, this is very significant, a 12% jump amongst OBCs. Amit Shah, Narendra Modi and the BJP have been assiduously trying to woo the OBCs onto the BJP fold. This is the pan-India data being put out on the India Today Access My India political stock exchange. 67% of the country's OBCs, and this is a big sample size of 1,34,000 respondents, want Narendra Modi as the next Prime Minister. Rahul Gandhi's popularity amongst OBCs crashing from 27 to 20%. Not good reading from the opposition's perspective. Let's now come to the scheduled tribes, the tribal communities. Here, of course, it comes down quite substantially, whereas amongst the upper caste it was 72%, amongst the tribals it's only 44%, and here in fact there has been a fall, a 5% fall in the popularity of the Prime Minister amongst the scheduled tribes of the country, from 49% now to 44%. Rahul Gandhi's popularity jumping up 8% from 32% to 40%. So that's a big change as you move across the caste pyramid. From scheduled tribes, let's now come to scheduled castes. Prime Minister's popularity is coming down from 47% to 41%. Rahul Gandhi's popularity is going up from 34% to 44%. This is crucial as well, as it shows a 6% decline in the popularity of Narendra Modi amongst the scheduled castes and a 10% jump in the popularity of Rahul Gandhi amongst the scheduled castes. This is pan-India picture, a very significant number on your screen right now. The Dalits are numerically significant across various states like Uttar Pradesh, like Punjab. There, the popularity of the Prime Minister is coming down. Rahul Gandhi's popularity amongst the Dalits going up. Let's now come to the Muslims. Here, the Prime Minister expectedly has the lowest level of popularity across all communities. 18% of the Muslims want Narendra Modi as Prime Minister, whereas 61% of the Muslims in March 2019 want Rahul Gandhi as Prime Minister. Manisha Priyam, I'll take initial comments from you. Amongst the OBCs and the upper caste, the Prime Minister doing very well. Amongst the tribals, the Dalits and the Muslims, not so well. Rahul Gandhi doing much better.
So if you take the Muslims out of the equation for now, this is really bad news for the BJP, which had tried a pan-India vote bank of 5th scheduled tribals. Remember, in the 2014 elections, one of the important endeavors that Prime Minister Modi had made for the next election was to have had a tribal vote bank. In Jharkhand campaigning, he would talk about the fact that he had a Birsa Munda Bhavan made in Gujarat. He was looking at Chhattisgarh then, Madhya Pradesh then. Remember, the Hindi heartland is not just the upper caste and the OBCs. It's a large number of scheduled tribes. And these are disparate groups. The BJP has worked very heavily with the Vanvasi Kalyan ashrams there. Amongst them, it's been the foot soldier of a lot of Vikaswad that has gone on. So that is bad news. I would say singularly also the scheduled caste in the this thing if it turns into an agde pichde ki ladai. Especially keep in mind the fact that the Prime Minister's popularity amongst the upper caste is the highest. So if it becomes an agde pichde ki ladai, there's no
Rahul
denying
as
the
you
fact
break it up,
that this could be a tough battle for the BJP.
there are interesting
this
insights.
Could be a tough battle.
But amongst the OBCs and the upper caste, the Prime Minister's popularity has surged. Amongst the Dalits and the tribals, it's actually come down, and Rahul Gandhi is doing very well.
Yes, Rahul, that's one sense of worry which the BJP, as Manisha is saying. Because see, upper caste, the general candidate, this is the core competence of the BJP any which way. This is where Prime Minister Modi, in off late, BJP was worried that in Gujarat, in Madhya Pradesh and other states, the BJP was losing ground. The real focus of the BJP has been these segments which were never part of the BJP's rainbow coalition as far as castes are concerned. The decline will definitely hurt the BJP. But does it really help the Congress? Because in a state like UP, this vote goes to Mayawati or Akhilesh alliance.
No, but it hurts Modi.
It hurts Modi.
So what it could
Modi,
also suggest, Javed Ansari,
it fractures the mandate, Rahul.
Is
That's
that
where the worry
impact
could be.
Why we're deducing this is that this is the post-Balakot period. The impact of Pulwama, terrorism, Balakot may be lesser amongst the country's impoverished Dalits and tribals than it is amongst the upper caste and the relatively more affluent OBCs.
Yes, Rahul has a point. You know, while this may not entirely be going into the Congress's kitty, it will go into the anti-BJP kitty. And while it's true that this is far from a done deal as far as the opposition has fallen far short of its stated objective of putting up one-to-one candidates against the BJP, post-poll, by force of circumstances, all these people will have to come together, and that couldn't work to BJP's advantage.
Okay, Amit
That's not good news
Malviya,
for them.
a community-wise breakup has some good news and some bad news for the BJP. A massive consolidation of upper caste and OBC votes in favor of the Prime Minister and in favor of the Bharatiya Janata Party. But as you move down the caste pyramid and you look at the Dalits and the tribals, the vote actually seems to be going away. The Prime Minister's popularity in the same poll, which is capturing a big post-Balakot jump, suggests amongst the more impoverished communities, the Prime Minister's popularity is actually going down, Amit Malviya.
Well, Rahul, first of all, true to his commitment of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, the Prime Minister in the last 5 years has done a lot of work for every community, whether it was the creation of the OBC Commission or providing reservation to the poor upper caste, or for that matter building Panchatirtha for Dr. Ambedkar and putting in several schemes that would uplift the socially empowered, whether it was Ujjwala or it was Jan Dhan or it was the Ujjwala scheme, like I said, and also the Mudra loan. Most of the beneficiaries came from the Dalit community, and therefore the data that you are putting out is something that we will look at very closely. But my sense from the ground is that it may not be as stark as you are projecting it to be. But certainly I won't argue with the numbers that you are putting out there, but the situation on the ground and our assessment seem to be a little different from what it is. Perhaps we will come back on your program a month later and have a different scenario there completely.
You can't like some parts of the data that suit you and diss the other parts. So I'm glad that Amit Malviya didn't disregard the parts that didn't suit his party. But Aishwarya Mahadev, I think there's an important point. While amongst the tribals, amongst the Dalits and amongst the Muslims, the popularity of the Prime Minister is down, it doesn't necessarily mean that all of this is automatically gravitating towards the Congress, because in states like Uttar Pradesh, it's the SP and the BSP which are the principal opponents of the Prime Minister and of the BJP. Therefore, a lot of the vote, which is anti-BJP, could still be going away from the Congress. It doesn't really help the Congress's individual cause. It helps the larger anti-BJP cause, but not the pro-Congress cause looked at purely from Rahul Gandhi's prism.
I'm going to keep election wins aside for a second, Rahul, and say look at the way that the numbers are fluctuating for Prime Minister Modi, and look at the segments that they're fluctuating in and dropping in. This shows you precisely whose aspirations in society have been catered to and whose have not been. And for example, in this you see that the minorities, you see that the tribals and the SCs are the ones who by far also far more disenfranchised and also disadvantaged than a lot of sections that have not really seen what Amit is trumpeting, this whole Sabka Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. And that is very critical. Irrespective of whether or not that vote definitively comes to the Congress or not, I genuinely believe the Congress also stands to gain because these voting segments are extremely large. For example, in southern India, you realize Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Kerala, that these comprise a massive chunk of the voting majority. And I believe that the Congress is certainly, especially not Uttar Pradesh, right? Especially where states do not necessarily have a BSP or a Samajwadi party, that the Congress is primarily the frontrunner to gain out of all of these seats. And I think also the tribal jump has been recently, Rahul, because of the fact that you saw that the Chhattisgarh Chief Minister also petitioned against the displacement of tribals, and you see that the aspirations are being kept with, for example, land distribution and whatnot. And I think the Congress stands to gain in one way or the other.
So, Raghav Awasthi, as you break up the data, there are interesting insights. Balakot, surgical strikes have clearly rallied the upper castes and the OBCs. Maybe the impact on the tribals,
that is close to
but the impact on the tribals and the Dalits isn't quite as much. It's the more granular issues of roti, bijli, kapda, makan, which could be bothering them more.
As far as I am concerned, the forward caste and the OBCs combined, and that's 2/3 of the population. And I don't think I agree with Aishwarya Mahadev. I think as far as I am concerned, in Karnataka as well as Tamil Nadu, the backward castes are the largest segment of the population.
No. Sorry,
yes.
sir. There are many
sub-segments. Just a second, are you saying that the backward castes are not the largest segment of the population?
I'm not saying any of what you're asking. I'm just telling you that the backward castes are sub-segmented. If you see in Karnataka, for example, you need to look at the Backward Caste Commission's report. This is not an OBC chunk that we talk about.
This is an overall...
Sir, even in Bihar, please...
for OBCs.
No, sir. Even in Bihar, if you see...
This is an overall assessment for the
one
OBC
at a time. Let's try and make sense. Let her complete what she's saying.
The fact is, why is the politics of Bihar and Eastern UP so much in trouble? Because you have something called the sub-categorization within these castes. And if you have the scheduled caste moving away, for example, you would have the lower amongst the OBCs hard pressed then to go on with a politics that looks like a politics of the Agras. So the complicated point is that a Rajbhar, for example, would be hard pressed to do anything but where the Pichhadas ka politics is going. So the signaling in the OBCs will happen where the least disadvantaged are going.
Okay, Sharad
Don't think of them
Pradhan,
as
what do you
blocks,
make of the fact that the relatively well-to-do castes and communities seem to be rallying very strongly in favor of the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Prime Minister, whereas the not so well-to-do communities, the tribals and the Dalits and the Muslims, are very strongly consolidating against him?
Well, this clearly reflects that, you know, this was seen that the desperation to win over these castes was done by Modi at the Kumbh Mela when he went about washing the feet of the Safai Karamcharis, which was quite a huge drama. And obviously it was done with an eye on the votes of Dalits, and that doesn't seem to have worked. So, which again shows that Congress seems to be getting its old vote bank back. You see, look at the Muslims. What your figures show, that the Muslims are, of course, the Muslims are not expected to be going for Modi, but the way Dalits, the graph going up for the Dalit support for the Rahul Gandhi shows that Congress is gradually winning back its old vote bank for whatever reason. There's lack of effort on their part to really get active on ground. But fact remains that despite...
Let's now take a look at the male-female urban-rural divide. Now this is interesting as well.
The BJP, they have failed to make any dent.
I look at the male and the female breakup first. When we broke up our poll for male and female respondents, here is the popularity of the Prime Minister amongst men from 47%, a big jump to 53%. You know, that's the one that matters most. That he's jumped up 6% amongst all castes of men. Equally disconcerting is that for Rahul Gandhi, he's down from 37 to 32. The Prime Minister's up 6%, Rahul Gandhi is down 5% between January and March 2019. This is amongst men. Let's now come to women. Amongst women as well, the Prime Minister's jumped, not as much as he did amongst men, but 2% is the increase between January and March, from 49 to 51. Rahul Gandhi from 34 to 35. The Prime Minister up 2% amongst women as well. The jump amongst men was a 6% jump. A bigger jump amongst women, the jump is a 2% jump. Let's now come to rural India. Remember, India is still primarily a rural country and therefore increasingly urbanizing, but still predominantly rural. Amongst the rural voters, the Prime Minister's popularity has actually gone up. So if anybody thought that there is rural distress, it may be true for certain segments, but net looked at from a purely urban-rural perspective, if you break up the constituencies, 49% of the respondents in rural India said they wanted Modi as Prime Minister. Rahul Gandhi's popularity is down from 36 to 35. So the Prime Minister's popularity in rural India going up. Let's look at urban vote share here. Quite expectedly, the Prime Minister's popularity is jumping between January and March. It was already at 50%. That's now up to 54%. Rahul Gandhi's popularity was at 33. It's now down to 31. I think what this political stock exchange does, Manisha Priyam, very clearly is it quantifies what people had been feeling. At this moment, even the BJP's worst enemies have to concede that post-January, post-Balakot, there's been a bump, and you can, when you break it up across categories, you can catch where that bump is coming from.
So one of the unanticipated, if people had felt that the bump was only a male masculine type of thing, the bump coming from women is a clear signal that there's something more going on. But a lot of the granular data that's coming from the bottom of the pyramid really is cause for worry for the BJP, and especially because of the fact that in the penultimate days of this government, the policy flavor it has had has been an agde ka reservation, etc. Now, following the model code of conduct, that headwind is lost. You don't have the legroom to be able to somewhat readjust yourself towards the bottom of the pyramid. So yes, you make some advances, you gain a vote bank of the agdas, you gain a vote bank where women are clearly for you, but there might be something that's still happening with the electorate, and that's why Indian elections are so interesting. Nobody's answered all the questions yet, and there will be a lot of political deliberation, lot of thinking hats that the parties will have to
Rahul
put on
Srivastava, this
as they
Agada
go into
versus
the elections.
Pichda politics is not what the BJP typically wants. They want to see a jump across all community categories. Our poll suggests that's not what's happening. We're seeing sweeping consolidation amongst the upper caste and the OBCs, and the Dalits and the tribals are unmoved.
You see, Rahul, I think what somebody like Amit Malviya and the BJP will be looking at, I think this is where I think our survey is extremely right, because we are showing that in the upper caste and OBC segments, the Prime Minister's popularity is improving.
Yeah.
In the urban areas, Prime Minister popularity is improving, means there is a sense of sink in it, because it is the dominance of the upper caste and others which reflects itself more in urban areas, and the rural areas are with the impoverished and others. So it is in sync. I think what the BJP will be happy about, because this is the place where the BJP was really worried, where it was losing. Because of GST, demonetization, several factors, the Prime Minister's popularity was taking a hit. So if Prime Minister is consolidating in urban areas, in the upper caste and in the OBCs, I think that's good news. Rest can be work in progress.
Okay, you're saying work in progress. Is there enough time now, Javed Ansari, for the BJP to be able to consolidate? Because there's a clear trend that's visible. Among certain communities, the Prime Minister's popularity is skyrocketing. Amongst other communities, there isn't that much traction, suggesting also that issues of national security, terrorism, don't have as much traction at the bottom of the pyramid as they do at the top.
I mean, look, this can be argued both ways. You're right when you say that there isn't too much of time, but but it can also be argued that if these figures are right, so if he maintains his lead amongst the OBCs and the upper caste and amongst women, then he's through, he's comfortably placed. But you know, the poll is a binary just between the Congress and the BJP. What about leaders like Naveen Patnaik? He's just announced a 33% reservation for women. Sure. Now, how does the Prime Minister stand up against something in a state like Orissa? You know, 33%, he's the only leader, only party which has announced it.
Net.
What happens against Mamata Banerjee?
If you look at the pan-India message, Amit Malviya, the challenge for the Bharatiya Janata Party is to sustain the post-Pulwama bump, and the challenge for the BJP, for the opposition, is to try and bring things back to normal, try and focus once again on issues where they think they can hurt the BJP. If this is where the nation's mood stays, then the BJP seems to be running away with this election.
Rahul, most of the indicators that you've put out pretty much suggest that the BJP and Mr. Modi have the headway. I just want to make two quick points. One on the SC and the ST vote numbers that you've put out. You know, my belief is that for a very long time, the socially empowered people have not had a voice in most of these polls that happen. I am hoping that it is fairly representative, but my sense is that the welfare programs that have been run by Mr. Modi, the biggest beneficiaries have been those who come from the scheduled caste community and also scheduled tribe. I think as someone on your panel said, that could be work in progress, because that's a constituency that needs to be spoken to, that needs to be told that look, the change that's happened in their life, which has been transformational and in many ways has been done by Modi government, and I'm quite hopeful that that will turn around, and that's where a big cadre penetration, the Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, the Dalit outreach is going to come into play.
Aishwarya Mahadev, from the Congress's perspective, corruption is an issue only for 12% of the voters. Thrice that number think unemployment is the biggest issue. So if Rahul Gandhi is to shape his campaign over the next few weeks, what he should be talking about most is unemployment. Instead, he's spending a lot of time thinking that Rafale is tracking. The polling data suggests that that is not the case. If there's anything which has potential to track from the opposition's perspective, it's unemployment, which is where Rahul Gandhi needs to drive the narrative. Instead, he's focusing on an issue which has 1/3 the level of traction. I don't know what polls you're looking at and what data you're picking up, because the issue that your president is driving home the most is not the issue that's tracking most for India's voters.
You know, Rahul, let's make this very clear. We have one plank of showing you that the BJP is corrupt, and second, that we're also talking about issues. We've been talking about unemployment, we've been talking about jobs, and if you look at Rahul Gandhi's speeches, though he does talk about the corruption of the current dispensation, he also focuses on the fact that the government has not delivered on jobs. The government has not delivered and tried to alleviate farm distress. The government has not helped women empowerment in any form or sort, even though in 2014 they made a huge hue and cry about it. So let's just make this very clear that we have several poll planks. One is the absolute failure of the BJP
Javed Ansari
to
is
fulfill the aspirations of the people who
most
voted
of
for it in
his
2014
previous
that gave them
press
such a huge
conferences in
number.
the recent
And
past have
second
been about
is the Rafale issue.
has been about Rafale. This data very clearly suggests the issue he should be banging. The BJP is doing what the BJP thinks is best. The polling data suggests focus on national security, focus on terrorism, say muh ko andar ghus ke mara, muh tod jawab diya. That works for them. The data suggests that. What could work best for Rahul is not what he is highlighting best.
Yes, he should rework his priorities, continue raising Rafale, but prioritize jobs, unemployment, prioritize rural distress. This is what will resonate with people, you know, not so much Rafale. Rafale is an issue, good, it's a good talking point, helps them dent the Prime Minister's image, but jobs is something, lack of jobs is something which pinches almost every household, and that is something that the Congress
Rahul
needs to
Srivastava, the
focus
fact
on.
is, at this time, we're seeing India's most formidable election machine up against an opposition that's not even highlighting the big issue. They should be looking at the polls. If you do any poll, I am certain it will suggest exactly the same thing. They're not even highlighting the biggest issues, trying to catch the Prime Minister on an issue which is not of equal resonance for the voters. In fact, 1/3 the resonance.
Rahul, that's where perhaps I think the problem is. I think a lot of things have happened at one time. You see, the entire opposition got together. There was a sense of worry in the BJP that it is now Modi versus the rest, and how the principal articulation on issues like jobs, farm distress and others will be working against the BJP. But then Pulwama happened, and then through Balakot, the BJP has changed the narrative. Now, in a narrative which is being dictated on the lines of national security, it is Modi who seems to be driving it, and everybody seems to be on the other side. How do they bring back the focus?
But they're not even trying, is the point that I'm making.
The problem is that they want to beat Modi at his game. Now,
you know,
they shouldn't do that.
TN Nainan has an interesting article. It's very difficult to beat Rafael Nadal at the French Open when he's playing on clay. Trying to beat Modi on the issue of national security is very difficult. Try and fight him not on his turf, try and fight him on turf which he doesn't like. Play him at the Wimbledon. That's not what the opposition is doing. That's advantage Modi. Will it stay that way? Can they change it? We don't know at this moment. We've put out the results of the All India Political Stock Exchange Tracker, which suggests very clearly post-January there's a big bump in the fortunes of the Bharatiya Janata Party. The gloom of the assembly election results is now behind the Prime Minister and his key lieutenant Amit Shah. They're looking ahead. Can the opposition try and wrest the narrative back? We'll track that very closely, and every week we'll bring you the results of the India Today Access My India political stock exchange tracker, which captures the moods of this country better than any other survey that's going on. And because we're doing it so continuously and every week, you can actually capture the change like you can't in any other survey on at this time. I want to thank all our guests for joining us. We'll have more for you on the other side. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.